She was 4 months pregnant when her billionaire husband slapped her so hard she hit the marble floor. Blood. On her dress, on the stone, on the hands she pressed against her stomach, praying the baby inside her was still alive. He stood over her, adjusting his cufflinks like nothing happened, like she was a stain he could smooth out. "Get up," he said. "Do not lie there." She had no phone. He locked it in a safe. She had no friends. He cut them off one by one. She had no doctor. He fired the one who documented her bruises. She had no voice. He trained an entire staff to look away. She was alone, completely, totally alone. And then, through the window, headlights. Not one car, a line of them, black sedans, military precision, rolling through a gate that should not have opened, into a property controlled by a man who controlled everything. His security cameras went dark. His radios went to static. His guards stepped back, like the house itself had decided who was allowed in tonight. For the first time in 3 years, Evan Blackwood looked afraid. But here is what he did not know. His wife was not just a waitress from Kentucky. She was not just a victim, and the men in those black cars did not come to negotiate. They came because someone had been watching, someone had been waiting. And tonight, she finally said the one word that changed everything, the truth. This story carries a message that matters. No amount of money can silence the truth forever. No mansion is big enough to hide what happens behind closed doors. And sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is not fight back. It is simply to speak. One word, one truth, one moment of refusing to stay silent. That is where freedom begins. If this story moved you, if it reminded you of someone you know, or if you believe that stories like this deserve to be heard, tap that like button. Drop a comment and tell me, what moment hit you the hardest? Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you have not already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that matters. The slap echoed down the marble hallway like a gunshot wrapped in silk. Lily Blackwood went down hard. Her knees hit the floor first, then her palms, and the cold stone sent a shock through her body that had nothing to do with temperature. Her hands flew to her stomach before she even understood why. She was 4 months pregnant, and the pain was not in her cheek where his hand had landed. It was lower, sharp, frightening, wrong. "Get up," Evan Blackwood said. His voice was controlled, measured, the kind of voice he used when donors were watching, when cameras were near, when the world needed to believe he was the man on the magazine covers. "Do not lie there," he said. Lily tried to inhale. It came out as a rasp, thin and broken. Her vision blurred at the edges. Above her, the chandelier threw patterns across the ceiling like scattered diamonds, and for one absurd moment, she thought how beautiful the light was in a house that had become her prison. Evan stepped over her like she was a dropped napkin. Under the chandelier, he looked flawless. Tailored shirt, cufflinks that cost more than her childhood home, hair still perfect from the charity dinner downstairs where he had smiled at 300 people and told them he believed in building a better world. His knuckles were red. He crouched beside her, just enough to put his face near hers. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, the wine on his breath, the sharp edge of something chemical underneath it all, something rotten. "You are going to ruin my life," he murmured. "You think you can fall apart in my house? With my name?" Another wave of pain twisted through her abdomen. Lily curled on her side, both hands pressed against her belly, shielding the one thing in this house that was still hers. Evan's eyes snapped to her hands, and something flickered across his face. Fear. Quick, ugly, selfish. Not fear for the baby. Fear for what a baby's injury might cost him. "Stop that," he hissed. "Stop acting fragile. You wanted this." At the far end of the corridor, a maid stood frozen with a silver tray. Young, maybe 22, her eyes wide with the particular horror of watching something you cannot stop and cannot unsee. Lily met her gaze, begging without words, "Please, see me. Help me." The maid looked away. Evan straightened his cuffs. He always did that after. Like the violence was a wrinkle he could smooth out, a stain he could press flat with expensive fabric and practiced hands. "You are going upstairs," he said. "You are going to sleep, and tomorrow you will smile. Tomorrow. The charity photos, the speeches. Lily beside him, in a gown that hid everything, pouring champagne for strangers the way she used to pour iced tea as a waitress in Bardstown, Kentucky. Except now the tips were replaced by silence. The smiles were replaced by bruises. And the girl who once laughed at a counter while a stranger ordered pancakes was buried so deep inside this marble house that sometimes Lily wondered if she had ever existed at all. She pressed her forehead to the cold floor and felt something warm between her thighs. Not much, just enough to make her stomach drop. Not now, she thought. Please, not now. Evan's phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen, ready to dismiss it the way he dismissed everything that did not serve him. Then his face changed. "What do you mean the gate opened?" He snapped into the phone, walking toward the front windows. "No, I did not authorize anyone. Who gave the clearance?" Lily dragged herself up on one elbow and followed his stare through the tall windows that overlooked the front drive. Headlights. Not one car, a line of them, black sedans, evenly spaced, turning into the property with military precision. No sirens, no flashing lights. Just a slow, confident approach that said more than any siren ever could. Evan went still. "How many?" he asked into the phone. Whatever the answer was, his jaw tightened until the bone showed through skin. "That is not possible," he muttered, but his hand trembled around the phone. The first sedan reached the iron gate. It did not stop. The gate began to swing inward on its own, as if the house itself had decided who was allowed in tonight. Lily's skin went cold. In 3 years of marriage, she had learned one absolute truth about this house. Evan controlled everything: locks, cameras, staff, her phone, her doctor, her food, her sleep. Nothing moved in this estate without his permission, until now. Evan turned on her, eyes hard. "You did not," he said. Lily swallowed. "I could not," she whispered. And it was true. Her phone had been locked in the kitchen safe since the day she told him she was pregnant. He called it protection. He called it peace. What it meant was that she could not call anyone. Not a friend, not a doctor, not the police, not even her own mother's grave to whisper that she was sorry for the choices she had made. But someone was here. Someone had come. And Evan Blackwood, who controlled everything and everyone, could not stop the gate from opening. Quick favor: if you have ever watched someone powerful realize they are not in control, if you have ever seen the exact moment when a man who owns the world discovers that the world does not belong to him, stay with this story. Because what happened next changed everything, not just for Lily, for everyone in that house, and for the woman sitting on a bed in a Park Avenue apartment, holding a pregnancy test that was not real, waiting for a phone call that would never come. 3 years earlier, Lily Carter was the kind of tired that coffee could not fix. She worked the morning shift at Rosie's Diner in Bardstown, Kentucky, a place where the vinyl booths were older than the customers, and the tips averaged $4 if you smiled hard enough. Lily smiled hard enough. She had been smiling her way through life since she was 12 years old, and a police officer sat at her kitchen table and told her that her father, James Carter, had died in a construction accident in another state. No body recovered. Closed casket. Her mother lasted 3 more years before her own heart gave out, and by then Lily had learned the most important lesson of poverty. Keep smiling. Keep moving. Nobody is coming to save you, so save yourself. She was 25, putting herself through nursing school part-time, working 6 shifts a week, when Evan Blackwood walked into Rosie's diner on a Tuesday morning in October. His private jet had mechanical trouble at the regional airport. He needed to wait 4 hours. His assistant suggested a hotel. Evan saw the diner sign and said, "That one." He sat at the counter and ordered pancakes like a normal person. Lily poured his coffee and noticed 3 things. His watch cost more than her car. His smile reached his eyes, and he looked at her, actually looked at her, like she was a person and not furniture. "These are excellent pancakes," he said. "They are $4.99, Lily replied. He tipped $500. Lily stared at the bill, then at him, then at the bill again. "You know the pancakes are $6.99 with tax, right?" she said. He grinned. The company was worth more. That was the hook, not the money, the attention, the way he asked her about nursing school and actually listened, leaning forward, eyes steady, like her answer mattered, like she mattered. He came back 3 weeks later in a rented car. Then again. Each time he sat at her counter, ordered pancakes, and talked to her like she was the most interesting person in the state of Kentucky. Her best friend Rachel Dunn, a pediatric nurse with sharp eyes and no patience for nonsense, said what best friends are supposed to say. "Lily, this feels fast." "You do not know him," Lily replied. "That is exactly my point," Rachel said. But Lily was in love with the idea of being chosen. After a lifetime of being overlooked, of being the girl whose father died and whose mother followed, of being the waitress who smiled through exhaustion, someone had looked at her and said, "You. I choose you." And that feeling was more powerful than any warning Rachel could give. The wedding was 6 months later. 400 guests on Evan's side, 11 on Lily's. Her father was listed in the program as deceased. Her mother was listed as deceased. Rachel was her maid of honor and cried during the vows, and Lily thought it was happiness. Years later, she would wonder if Rachel had been crying for a different reason. The first year was a fairy tale wrapped in silk, a penthouse in Manhattan, a country estate outside the city, staff who called her Mrs. Blackwood with perfect posture and empty eyes. Evan was attentive, generous, devoted. The second year, the edges appeared. Small things at first, so small that Lily questioned herself rather than him. He canceled her gym membership because the trainer looked at you wrong. He suggested she stop texting Rachel so much because you need to focus on us. He moved her phone charger to his office because you are on it too much. Then bigger things. He fired the housekeeper who slipped Lily a prepaid phone. He told Lily the woman was stealing silverware. He changed the Wi-Fi password and forgot to give her the new one for 3 weeks. He moved her car keys to a safe for security. Each thing alone was explainable. Together, they formed a cage so slow and so precise that Lily did not realize she was locked inside until the door was already shut. The first hit came in their 3rd year, a charity gala. Lily talked to a waiter for 2 minutes about the appetizers. Evan waited until they were home. Then he shoved her into a wall and told her she had embarrassed him. He apologized with a $40,000 bracelet from Tiffany's. "I lost my temper," he said, eyes wet, voice breaking. "It will never happen again. You know I love you." The bruise lasted 2 weeks. The bracelet sat in a safe, cold and heavy, a monument to the price of silence. And Lily made the bargain that millions of women have made before her. She traded the truth for stability, pain for comfort, her voice for a roof over her head. When she found out she was pregnant, she believed the lie every abused woman tells herself. A baby will change him. Evan's reaction? Good. Now you have a reason to stay home. He locked her phone in the kitchen safe. For her peace, he said. He replaced her doctor with his own. He told the staff that Lily was fragile, emotional, not to be disturbed. He built a nursery that cost more than most houses, and stood in it with his hand on her belly, like he was posing for a photograph, and Lily smiled. Because that is what she had always done. Smile through the pain, smile through the fear, smile until someone finally looked close enough to see that the smile was a scream. Nobody looked. Not until the night the black cars came. The first clue came wrapped in tissue paper, inside a Tiffany's bag that was not meant for her. Lily found it in Evan's coat pocket 3 weeks before the charity gala. A receipt for a diamond necklace. $28,000. She almost convinced herself it was a surprise, an early birthday gift, an apology for last Tuesday when he grabbed her wrist so hard it bruised. Then she found the second clue. A single blonde hair on his shirt collar. Lily was brunette. She could not investigate. She had no phone. She had no internet access without Evan's laptop password. She had no car keys. She had no friends left close enough to call, because Evan had systematically severed every connection she had, wrapping each cut in the language of love and protection. But she had one thing Evan forgot about: the household delivery log. Every package that arrived at the estate was signed for by staff and recorded in a leather-bound book in the pantry. It was an old system, a leftover from Victoria Blackwood's era, and nobody thought twice about it, because nobody thought Lily would look. Lily looked. She spent mornings in the pantry pretending to organize spices while reading the log. 3 deliveries in 2 months to an address on Park Avenue that she did not recognize. Flowers, wine, a package from a lingerie brand she had never heard of, all charged to a credit card that was not on any statement she had ever seen. The address belonged to Megan Hale. Lily had met Megan exactly 4 times. Evan introduced her as his PR consultant. She was 33, blonde, polished in a way that came from money rather than effort. She came to the estate for meetings that happened behind closed doors and ran long. The 4th time Megan visited, Evan was running late from the city. Megan arrived alone and walked through the house like she was measuring for new curtains. She picked up a photo of Lily and Evan, studied it, and set it back down, facing the wall. Then she sat at Lily's kitchen island and poured herself coffee from Lily's pot. You know, Megan said, stirring slowly, Evan deserves someone who can keep up with him, someone who understands his world. Lily's hands trembled, but she kept her voice flat. And that is you? Megan smiled the way a cat smiles at a bird that does not know the window is open. Sweetie, she said, that has been me for 2 years. 2 years, before the wedding, before the vows, before Lily stood in a white dress and promised her life to a man who was already giving his nights to someone else. The floor shifted beneath Lily's feet, and she gripped the counter to steady herself. Megan finished her coffee, rinsed the cup, and placed it in the dish rack like she lived there, like she would live there, like it was only a matter of time. The confirmation came 3 days later at a lunch Lily never expected to receive. Victoria Blackwood, Evan's mother, invited Lily to her townhouse. This was rare. Victoria treated Lily the way old money treats new people, with exquisite politeness and absolute distance. She had attended the wedding in a cream suit, with a smile that never reached her eyes, and in 3 years, she had visited the estate exactly twice. Over a salad she never touched, Victoria placed her fork down and said, I have always thought Evan needed a partner, not a project. Lily stared at her. Megan understands our family, Victoria continued. She comes from the right background, the right connections. She knows how to carry a name like Blackwood. The words landed like ice water. You want me to leave? Lily said. Victoria's expression did not change. I want what is best for my son. Lily stood up. Her legs felt hollow. Your son hits me, she said. The words came out before she could stop them, raw and shaking and real. Victoria picked up her fork. Every marriage has its difficulties, she said, and she took a bite of salad, like Lily had commented on the weather. Lily walked out of that townhouse and stood on the sidewalk in Manhattan with no phone, no money, no car, and no one to call. She put her hand on her belly, where the baby moved for the first time that afternoon, a tiny flutter like a bird testing its wings, and she made a promise she did not yet know how to keep. I will get out. I will get you out, even if I have to burn this whole world down. But first came the night of the charity gala. First came Megan in a red dress, standing beside Evan in every photograph. First came the moment Lily opened her own bedroom door and found Megan sitting on her bed, holding a pregnancy test with a positive sign. Oops, Megan said. Wrong room. Megan held up the test like a trophy. Looks like Evan is going to be a father twice, but do not worry. I am sure he will pick the one that matters. Lily confronted Evan in the hallway after the last guest left. Her voice shook. Her hands shook. Everything shook except the truth. Is she pregnant? Evan's mask cracked. The slap came fast and hard. Lily hit the marble floor, and the pain in her stomach told her that this time something was different. Something was wrong. And through the window, the headlights appeared. The gate should not have opened. That was the thing Lily could not stop thinking as she lay on the marble floor, with one hand pressed to her stomach, and blood beginning to spot through her dress. The gate was controlled by Evan's security system, biometric access, 24-hour camera surveillance, a team of 6 guards on rotating shifts. Nothing entered or left this property without Evan Blackwood's explicit permission. But the gate swung open like it had been expecting company. 4 black sedans rolled up the driveway in perfect formation, headlights cutting through the dark like surgical instruments. They stopped in unison, doors opened, men stepped out, not police, not paramedics, something else. Dark suits, no visible weapons, no raised voices. They moved with the kind of calm precision that comes from doing something 1,000 times. They walked through the front door of a billionaire's mansion at midnight like they were arriving for a scheduled appointment. Evan positioned himself at the top of the foyer stairs, one hand gripping Lily's arm in a way that looked supportive to anyone watching and felt like a handcuff to her. His smile was perfect. Years of charity dinners and press conferences had made that smile bulletproof. Gentlemen, he called down, you are on private property. The tallest man glanced around the foyer once, cataloging the marble, the paintings, the staff lined up against the walls like expensive furniture. His eyes stopped on Lily for half a second. Then he spoke to Evan without looking at him. Lillian Carter. The name hit Lily like cold water. Nobody had called her that in 3 years. In this house, she was Mrs. Blackwood. Before that, she was Lily. But Lillian Carter was the girl from Kentucky, the waitress, the orphan, the person she had been before Evan Blackwood decided to own her. Evan's hand tightened on her arm. That is my wife, he said smoothly, and she is not available. The man finally looked at Evan. His expression was flat, patient, completely unimpressed by the marble and the money and the perfectly tailored shirt. We are not here to ask what she is available for. A second suited man stepped to the side, holding a slim tablet. He tapped the screen once, and the security chief's radio erupted with static. Dale Haskins pressed the button, tried again, pressed harder. Nothing. Evan's eyes darted to Dale. Fix it, he hissed. The leader's voice, stayed level. Your internal communications are off. Your exterior cameras are on our feed. Do not waste your people. Evan laughed, sharp and practiced. Now tell me who you are, so I can decide how generous I am going to be about this trespass. The man did not bite. He looked at Lily. Ma'am, are you injured? Evan answered instantly. She slipped. She is pregnant. She gets dizzy. Pregnant, the man repeated quietly, as if confirming something he already knew. Lily felt warmth at her thigh. The bleeding was getting worse. Panic climbed her throat, but Evan's fingers dug into her arm, and his voice slid into her ear, like poison wrapped in honey. Do not speak, he whispered. Do not dare. The leader's eyes tracked the grip on her arm. He spoke to Evan with the particular calm of a man who has already decided how this ends. Let go of her. Or what? Evan said. Or you will do it in front of witnesses. The word landed like a stone in still water. Witnesses. The staff, the guards, the maids who had learned to look away, the people who had heard muffled screaming behind closed doors and convinced themselves it was not their problem. Evan released Lily's arm like he was doing her a favor. She stumbled, caught the banister, and lowered herself onto the first step. Her legs would not hold her. A woman stepped in from behind the suited men. Dark hair, medical bag, gloves already on. She knelt beside Lily with the focus of someone who had been briefed and was ready. Lily, the woman said. Not Mrs. Blackwood. Lily. Can you tell me where it hurts? My stomach, Lily whispered. And I think I am bleeding. Evan's voice lost its polish. Stop saying that. You are fine. The medic did not acknowledge his existence. Any cramping? Dizziness? Did you fall? Lily looked at Evan. His eyes burned into hers, with the private fury she knew so well, the look that said, I will make you pay for this later. The leader spoke. You can tell the truth. You are not alone right now. Not alone. In this house, Lily had always been alone. I did not fall, she said. The words came out thin, but they came out clear. Evan's smile cracked. And then two things happened in quick succession that broke the silence of 3 years wide open. Dale Haskins, the security chief, a man who had watched and documented and stayed quiet through every locked door and muffled cry, said in a voice that shook, He slapped her. I saw it. And the young maid at the end of the hallway, the one who had looked away 10 minutes ago, whispered, He slapped her. Evan's head snapped toward the maid. I pay you, he said. His voice was low and dangerous and stripped of every pretense. The leader cut in, calm and precise. Threaten another witness and you will find out what it feels like to lose control of a room. The medic pressed a device to Lily's abdomen. Static first, then a sound, fast, rhythmic, unmistakable. A heartbeat, tiny and rapid, like a tapping finger. Lily's eyes filled instantly. Strong, the medic said. Baby is strong. Evan heard it too. His expression flickered with something that was not tenderness, but possession. Like the sound belonged to him. The leader stood. We are leaving. She is coming with us. Evan stepped in front of the door. Over my dead body. The man with the tablet lifted it slightly. We have the call logs from your private physician. We have the non-disclosure agreements you forced staff to sign. We have a video clip from 15 minutes ago that your own cameras recorded before you lost them. Evan's face drained of color. That is impossible. It was impossible because you paid for it to be, the leader replied. Tonight it is just evidence. Lily was helped to her feet. Dale stepped to her other side, supporting her. The suited men formed a corridor of bodies between Lily and Evan. And for the first time in 3 years, she walked through her own house without asking permission. At the front door, Evan's voice cracked open. "Lily, if you walk out that door, you are nothing. You hear me? Nothing." Lily did not look back. She stepped into the night air, and the motorcade lights washed over the mansion like a spotlight on a stage where the lead actor had finally forgotten his lines. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and safety, and Lily could not stop shaking. They did not take her to the main entrance. A side gate, an unmarked door, an elevator already waiting. She was on a bed with monitors attached before she could form a sentence. Cold gel on her stomach, the ultrasound wand pressing gently, the doctor's face serious, focused, then slowly releasing into something that looked like relief. "Heartbeat is strong," the doctor said. "Some spotting, possibly from trauma. We are monitoring for placental issues. But right now, both of you are stable, both of you." Lily pressed her palms against her eyes and cried for the first time in months. Agent Marcus Cole entered after the doctor left. He was the leader from the mansion, and now, under hospital fluorescence, she could see him clearly. Mid-50s, military posture, a face that had seen enough to stop being surprised by cruelty. "Federal," he said, showing a badge briefly. "Not local, not private. I am here so you do not end up back in that house." He placed her phone on the tray table. Lily stared at it. "That was in his safe," she said. "We took it," Cole replied. "Your cameras were on our feed." Her fingers closed around the phone like it was oxygen. 18 months without it. 18 months of silence. She called Rachel. Her best friend answered on the first ring at 2 a.m, like she had been sleeping with the phone in her hand. Maybe she had been. "I have been waiting for this call," Rachel said. Lily broke. Not the quiet tears from before, the real breaking. The kind that sounds ugly and feels like drowning and means you are finally telling the truth. Rachel drove 4 hours through the night and walked into the hospital room at dawn with coffee, dry clothes, and the particular expression of a woman who was not going to let her friend disappear again. "You are done with him," Rachel said. It was not a question. Lily signed the protective order that morning. Federal agents placed guards at her door. Agent Cole told her that the investigation into Evan's financial empire was already underway. Wire fraud, money laundering through his charity foundation, assault. The evidence was substantial. For one day, Lily breathed. For one day, she sat in a hospital bed with her best friend beside her, eating terrible cafeteria food and watching the baby move on the ultrasound monitor, and she thought, "It is over. I am safe." Then Evan Blackwood did what Evan Blackwood always did. He rewrote the story. The press conference aired at noon. Evan stood behind a podium, flanked by his mother, his legal team, and standing just to his right, with one hand resting on her stomach, Megan Hale. Evan spoke with rehearsed emotion. "My wife is struggling," he said. "Pregnancy has been difficult for her, and she has experienced a mental health crisis. I blame myself for not recognizing the signs sooner. That is why today I am announcing a $5 million donation to the National Maternal Mental Health Foundation." He paused, swallowed, let his eyes glisten. "I love my wife," he said, "and I will do everything in my power to support her recovery." The journalists applauded. Megan stood beside him, looking demure and concerned, wearing a soft cream blazer that made her look like a woman who had never harmed anyone. A reporter asked who she was. Evan smiled warmly. "A close family friend who has been supporting us through this difficult time." By evening, the narrative was set. Social media exploded with opinions from strangers who had never met Lily and never would. Gold digger having a breakdown. He is donating $5 million. That is not what an abuser does. She is clearly unstable. Pregnancy hormones. Classic manipulation. Lily's hotel location was leaked, not the hospital. The safe house Cole had moved her to that afternoon. Reporters appeared outside within hours. Her face was on every screen. Then Evan's legal team, 7 attorneys, led by a retired federal judge serving as consultant, filed an emergency motion to vacate the protective order. They argued that Lily was mentally unfit, that she posed a risk to herself and the unborn child, and that Evan's home was the safest environment for her recovery. The order was temporarily suspended pending review. Rachel held Lily's hand while she read the news on her phone. The same phone she had waited 18 months to hold. "He is going to win," Lily whispered. "He always wins." Rachel's jaw tightened. Not this time. But that night, Lily's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. She almost did not open it. The old fear was there, chemical, instinctive, the kind that lives in your body after years of conditioning. She opened it. "Come home. We will handle this quietly." Lily stared at the screen, and the one day of safety she had been given crumbled like a house made of paper. Rachel Dunn was not the kind of woman who waited for permission to act. While Lily was in the hospital being monitored, Rachel was in the waiting room with a laptop, a phone charger, and a fury that could have powered the entire building. She had watched her best friend disappear into a marriage 3 years ago. She had called, texted, emailed, and been slowly, systematically cut off until the silence became its own answer. Now Lily was back, bruised and pregnant and bleeding, and Rachel was done being patient. "You need ammunition," Rachel told Lily the morning after the press conference. "Not just legal, public." Evan rewrote the story. We need to rewrite it back. Rachel started where any good investigator starts. She followed the money and the ego. Megan Hale's social media was a goldmine of carelessness. Instagram posts geotagged at Evan's Aspen vacation house on Christmas Eve while Lily was home alone. A dinner photo at a restaurant where the reservation was under the name Blackwood. A snapshot of a wine glass on a private jet that matched the interior of Evan's Gulfstream. Timestamps, locations, patterns. But Rachel's real breakthrough came from a phone call. Dr. Nora Sinclair was the OBGYN who had treated Lily during her first trimester before Evan replaced her with his own doctor, a man named Dr. Feldman, who asked no questions and documented nothing. Dr. Sinclair had been fired from the hospital where she practiced after Evan made a call. Funding pulled. Reputation quietly destroyed. Rachel found her working at a community clinic 40 minutes outside the city. She walked in without an appointment, sat down in the lobby, and said, "I am Lily Blackwood's best friend, and I think you kept copies of everything." Dr. Sinclair stared at her for a long time. Then she closed the office door. She had kept everything. Every photograph of every bruise she had documented during Lily's visits. Every note about injuries that did not match the explanations given. Every page of the medical record Evan had tried to bury. And one thing more. A recording. Dr. Sinclair had made it on her phone during the visit when Evan came in unannounced and demanded that she change the medical notes. His voice was clear on the recording. "You write what I tell you to write," Evan said, "or I will make sure you never practice medicine again." Rachel held the phone and listened to that recording 3 times. Then she looked at Dr. Sinclair. "You are going to testify," Rachel said. "I know," Dr. Sinclair replied. Agent Cole arranged the interview. Not tabloid, not a morning show that would edit for drama. A journalist named Claire Weston, known for investigative pieces that changed policy and ended careers. The interview aired on a Tuesday evening. Lily sat in a studio chair wearing a simple blue sweater. No jewelry, no styling. She spoke the way she had always wanted to speak, clearly, chronologically, without performing grief for an audience. She talked about the first shove, the isolation, the locked phone, the staff who were forced to sign non-disclosure agreements, the pregnancy test Megan waved like a flag. Then Dr. Sinclair's records were presented. Then the photos. Then the recording. Public opinion did not just shift, it snapped. Within 24 hours, Believe Lily was the top trend in America. Evan's charity donors began pulling their support. His stock dropped 11%. 3 board members resigned. A senator who had attended his gala issued a statement distancing herself from the Blackwood family. Lily watched from the safe house with Rachel beside her, one hand on her stomach. And for the second time in a week, she allowed herself to think, maybe this is over. Rachel squeezed her hand. He is done, Lily. It is finished. 48 hours later, everything collapsed. The first hit came on television. Megan Hale held a press conference of her own. She was tearful, composed, and devastating. She told reporters that Lily had known about the relationship from the beginning and had approved it. She produced screenshots of text messages allegedly exchanged between herself and Lily, messages in which Lily discussed the arrangement casually, even jokingly. She is using her pregnancy to extort him, Megan said, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. I feel sorry for her. I really do. But the truth matters. The screenshots looked real. Good enough to plant doubt. The second hit came at 2 a.m. Lily woke in the safe house to find the electronic lock on her door blinking green. Someone had accessed her room. Nothing was taken. Nothing was moved. Except one thing, a single white rose on her pillow. Evan's signature from their courtship. Every week for 6 months. A white rose delivered to Rosie's diner. Romantic then. A threat now. The message was clear. I can reach you anywhere. The third hit came from Agent Cole himself. He called Lily into a meeting with a face that told her everything before he spoke. The federal case has a complication, Cole said. Evan's legal team has filed a motion claiming that the evidence used in the raid was obtained through an informant with a compromised background, specifically through your father. Lily's world stopped. My father is dead, she said. Cole held her gaze. No, he said quietly. He is not. The truth about James Carter took 15 years to cross the distance between a construction site in Virginia and a hospital room in New York. And when it arrived, it did not look like the truth at all. It looked like a man sitting in a federal conference room with calloused hands and gray at his temples, staring at a two-way mirror and knowing his daughter was on the other side. Agent Cole laid it out with the kind of precision that meant he had rehearsed this conversation. 20 years ago, James Carter was a construction foreman who worked for Robert Blackwood, Evan's father. Robert Blackwood was building luxury condominiums across 3 states, and James Carter was one of the men who poured the foundations. What James did not know when he took the job was that those foundations were built on laundered money. The Blackwood family had been washing cash through real estate for a decade. Fake subcontractors, inflated invoices, payments routed through shell companies in 3 countries. James Carter discovered it by accident when a payment meant for a concrete supplier was accidentally deposited into the wrong account and the numbers did not match anything on the books. He went to the FBI. He testified in a sealed proceeding. The case resulted in the quiet prosecution of 2 Blackwood associates, but Robert Blackwood himself was never charged. Too much political insulation, too many donors, too many friends in the right offices. But Robert Blackwood knew someone had talked. and his people began looking. The FBI gave James a choice: disappear or die. Not metaphorically. 3 informants in similar cases had been found dead in the previous 2 years. James had a wife with a failing heart and a 12-year-old daughter who laughed while pouring orange juice at the breakfast table. He chose to disappear. They staged a construction accident, closed casket. James Carter was buried in a cemetery in Virginia, and the man who had been James Carter became someone else entirely. A new name, a new state, a new life built on the ashes of the one he left behind. "He has been watching you," Cole told Lily, "through us, through contacts we maintained. For 15 years, he has known where you are and what is happening to you." Lily sat in the conference room chair and felt the ground beneath her open like a fault line. Her father was alive. Her father had watched her marry the son of the man who destroyed his life. Her father had known she was being hurt and had not come. "Why now?" she asked. Her voice was flat, emptied. "Because Evan found out," Cole said. "His lawyers dug into your background looking for leverage. They found anomalies in your father's death records. If they connect James Carter to the original informant file, they will use it to discredit every piece of evidence we have. They will argue the entire investigation was a personal vendetta." Lily closed her eyes. "So the man who was supposed to protect me is the reason the case might fall apart." "The case will not fall apart," Cole said. "But we need to move faster. And we need more than federal evidence. We need witnesses who are not connected to your father's file." Lily opened her eyes. "I want to see him." Cole brought her to a house outside the city the next day. Small, modest, a garden in the back with tomatoes growing on stakes, a mailbox with no name. She walked through the front door alone. James Carter sat at a kitchen table. He was older than any version of him she had kept in memory. Weathered, rough hands, but his eyes were the same ones she saw every morning in the mirror. Neither spoke for a long time. "You left," Lily finally said. "I left so they would not find you." "They found me anyway. I married one of them." James's face broke. Not dramatically, quietly. The way a dam cracks when the weight behind it has been building for 15 years. "I know," he whispered, "and I could not stop it without exposing you." "You could have told me. You were 12, then you were 18, then you were in his house, and moving too fast would have put you in more danger." "More danger," Lily repeated, "than a husband who hits me." The silence that followed was the loudest sound Lily had ever heard. James reached into his pocket and pulled out a photograph. Lily's first-grade school picture, curly hair, gap-toothed smile, crayon stains on her collar. The edges were worn soft from years of being held. "Every day," he said. "I carried this every single day." Lily looked at the photo, then at her father, then at her own swollen stomach, where the baby kicked once, hard, like punctuation. "Your grandchild," Lily said. "She is strong." James's eyes filled, like her mother. Lily sat down across from him. She did not hug him, not yet. That would take time. Maybe a long time. Maybe longer than either of them had. But she did not leave. And sitting in that kitchen, with 15 years of silence between them, Lily felt something she had not felt since the night the black cars came. Not safety, not forgiveness. Something colder and more useful. Clarity. She knew what she had to do. Lily stopped waiting to be rescued. She started with Megan's lie. The fake text messages Megan had presented to the public, the ones that supposedly showed Lily approving the affair, had one fatal flaw that nobody had noticed because nobody knew the thing Lily knew. She called Claire Weston. "The texts are fake," Lily said. "And I can prove it, because I never had a phone. Evan locked it in a safe 18 months ago." Check my carrier records. My number has 0 outgoing messages for a year and a half. Those texts were sent from a device that does not belong to me. Claire checked. The phone records confirmed it. The device that supposedly sent the messages was registered to a prepaid number purchased at a convenience store in New Jersey 3 weeks before Megan's press conference. It had never been in Lily's possession. Claire published the expose that evening. The headline was simple and devastating: fabricated. The word that destroyed Megan Hale's credibility in a single news cycle. But Lily was not done. She called Dale Haskins. Evan's former head of security had quit the morning after the motorcade. He was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens, unemployable and drinking too much, haunted by 3 years of footage he had watched and done nothing about. Dale, Lily said, you saw everything. 3 years of cameras, logs, visitor records. You know where the real files are? Dale was quiet for a long time. He will destroy me, he said. He is already destroying himself, Lily replied. You just have to tell the truth before he buries it. Dale agreed. He turned over backup security footage from a private server that Evan's technical team did not know existed. A redundancy Dale had set up himself as insurance, because men who work for monsters eventually start planning their own escape. The footage showed everything: every shove, every slap, every time Evan stood over Lily while she lay on the floor and adjusted his cufflinks like nothing had happened. 3 years of violence, time-stamped and unedited. Then Lily did the thing nobody expected. She went to Victoria Blackwood. She did not call ahead. She did not bring a lawyer. She walked into Victoria's townhouse and sat down on the velvet chair in the parlor as if she had been invited. Victoria appeared in the doorway, composed as always, holding a cup of tea like a shield. You should not be here, Victoria said. And yet here I am, Lily replied. Victoria sat down. The distance between them was 3 feet and 30 years of silence. You wanted me gone, Lily said. You backed Megan. You told your son I was not good enough. You sat across from me at lunch and told me every marriage has its difficulties, while your son was putting bruises on my body. Victoria's teacup trembled once. She steadied it. I protected my family, she said. Your family is a crime scene, Lily replied. Your husband laundered money. Your son beats women, and you sat at charity lunches pretending the Blackwood name meant something other than violence. The air in the room changed. Victoria set her teacup down. If Evan goes to trial, Lily continued, every closet opens, every secret, including yours. The donations that were not donations, the accounts that were not accounts, the foundation that was never really a foundation. Victoria's face did not move, but her eyes did. Something shifted behind them. Fear, calculation, or something older and more tired than either. What do you want? Victoria asked. Testify, Lily said. Against your own son. Tell the truth about what this family is. The silence lasted long enough for Lily to hear the clock on the mantel tick 4 times. Victoria looked at her. You are not the girl from the diner anymore. No, Lily said. I am not. And because Lily had saved the most important move for last, she played it on the way out. She had Rachel investigate Megan's pregnancy claim. Rachel, the pediatric nurse, had been bothered by something from the beginning. Megan's timeline did not add up. She claimed 4 months pregnant but showed no physical changes consistent with that stage. Her public appearances showed no modification to her habits, and a source at the clinic Megan had visited confirmed what Rachel suspected. Megan was not pregnant. She had never been pregnant. The pregnancy test she had waived in Lily's bedroom was purchased online. A prop, a weapon designed to break Lily at her most vulnerable moment. When Agent Cole confronted Megan with the medical records, she did not hold together. The polished composure cracked like cheap glass. She screamed at the agents. She threw a glass of water across the table, and then she said the sentence that ended Evan Blackwood's defense. He told me to do it. He planned the whole thing. He said if she thought I was pregnant, she would leave on her own and he would not have to. She stopped. But everyone heard what she did not finish. The courtroom was full, and the silence had weight. Evan Blackwood sat at the defense table in a suit that cost more than most people earned in a month. His hair was perfect. His posture was controlled. His lawyer had coached him on expressions, on where to rest his hands, on when to look at the jury with the right mixture of concern and dignity. But the suit could not hide what was happening, and no amount of coaching could prepare him for what walked through those doors. The prosecution called Dale Haskins first. Dale took the stand looking like a man who had not slept in weeks, which was accurate. He had left behind a career, a pension, and the carefully constructed denial that had allowed him to watch a woman be abused for 3 years and do nothing. Mr. Haskins, the prosecutor said, in your role as head of security for the Blackwood estate, what did you observe regarding the defendant's treatment of his wife? Dale swallowed. I observed physical violence on multiple occasions, slapping, shoving. On at least 2 occasions, I heard what I believed to be objects being thrown. And did you report this? No? Why not? Dale looked at Evan, then at the floor. Because Mr. Blackwood made it clear that my employment depended on my silence. I signed a non-disclosure agreement. I was told the cameras were for security, but certain footage was routinely deleted on his orders. Certain footage that showed him hurting her. The backup security recordings played on the courtroom screens. There was no ambiguity, no room for interpretation. Evan Blackwood hitting his pregnant wife, Evan Blackwood standing over her while she lay on a marble floor, Evan Blackwood adjusting his cufflinks and walking away. The jury watched in silence. One woman in the back row put her hand over her mouth. Dr. Nora Sinclair took the stand next. She presented 3 years of medical documentation, photographs of bruises on Lily's arms, ribs, and back, notes detailing injuries inconsistent with the explanations provided, and the recording of Evan threatening her career. The defense attorney tried to discredit her. Doctor, is it not true that you were terminated from your position at the hospital? Yes, Dr. Sinclair said. Because your client made a phone call. The courtroom stirred. The judge called for order. Megan Hale took the stand as a cooperating witness. Her immunity deal required full disclosure, and the woman who had walked through Lily's house, measuring for new curtains, now sat in a witness chair and dismantled every lie she had ever told. She confirmed that Evan had orchestrated the fake pregnancy scheme. She confirmed that the fabricated text messages were created at his direction. She confirmed that the white rose left in Lily's safe house was arranged through a private investigator Evan had hired, and she confirmed the sentence she had not finished during her interrogation. He said if she thought I was pregnant, she would leave on her own, and he would not have to deal with her anymore. Deal with her, the prosecutor repeated. What did you understand that to mean? Megan's voice dropped. I understood that he was considering options that would make it look like an accident. The courtroom erupted. The judge gavelled for silence. Evan leaned toward his attorney and whispered something frantic. His attorney's face did not change, which told Lily everything she needed to know. Then Victoria Blackwood was called to the stand. The courtroom went quiet in a different way. Not the silence of shock, the silence of anticipation, a mother testifying against her own son. Victoria walked to the stand with the posture of a woman who had been carrying something heavy for decades and was finally setting it down. She wore a dark blue suit, no jewelry, her hands were still. She confirmed the Blackwood family's financial crimes. She confirmed that she had known about Evan's abuse of Lily and had done nothing. She confirmed that she had supported Megan's position as a replacement wife because maintaining the family's public image mattered more to her than a young woman's safety. "Why are you testifying against your son?" the prosecutor asked. Victoria looked at Evan, then at Lily in the gallery, one hand resting on her stomach where the baby moved. "Because my son is his father," Victoria said, "and I spent 40 years pretending that was acceptable. I will not spend 40 more." Evan stood up. The composure, the coaching, the mask, all of it fell away at once. He shouted at his mother, at the prosecutor, at the room. His voice was raw and uncontrolled, the voice Lily had heard in hallways and bedrooms for 3 years, the voice the world was hearing for the first time. "You are all liars," he yelled. "She is a waitress from nowhere. I made her. I gave her everything." The judge slammed the gavel. 2 marshals moved toward Evan. His attorney grabbed his arm. Evan shook him off. "I built this city," he shouted. "I built this name. You cannot take it from me." He was restrained. He was seated. But the damage was done. The jury had seen the real Evan Blackwood, not the philanthropist, not the visionary, the man who believed that everything, including people, belonged to him. Lily was the final witness. She took the stand wearing a simple dress, no jewelry, no makeup designed to hide or emphasize anything. She rested her hands in her lap and answered every question the way she had wanted to speak for 3 years. Clearly, honestly, without apology. She described the courtship, the isolation, the escalation. She described the locked phone, the fired doctor, the staff who were trained to look away. She described the night of the charity gala, the slap, the blood on the marble, the motorcade that arrived when she had no way to call for help. The defense attorney stood for cross-examination. "Mrs. Blackwood, is it not true that you married the defendant for his money?" Lily looked at him, then at Evan, then at the jury. "I married him for his pancakes," she said. "He sat at my counter in a diner in Kentucky and made me laugh. I did not know the man behind the smile was someone else entirely." The courtroom was silent. "I did not want his money," Lily continued. "I wanted to be safe, and for 3 years I was not." The jury deliberated for 6 hours. They returned with a verdict on all 12 counts. Guilty, wire fraud, guilty, money laundering, guilty, obstruction of justice, guilty, witness tampering, guilty, coercion, guilty, assault, guilty. Sentencing, 18 years in federal prison. Evan was led from the courtroom in handcuffs. At the door, he turned and looked at Lily one final time. The look was not rage. It was not sorrow. It was the bewildered expression of a man who still could not understand how a waitress from Kentucky had taken everything from him. Lily held his gaze. She did not flinch. She did not look away. She held it until the door closed and the sound of his footsteps faded down the hallway, and then she put both hands on her stomach and breathed. 1 year later, on a Tuesday morning in October, Lily Carter sat on the front porch of a small house outside Nashville and watched her daughter try to eat a leaf. Charlotte was 7 months old. She had Lily's eyes, her grandfather's stubborn jaw, and an absolute commitment to putting everything she found into her mouth. The leaf was a maple, bright orange, and Charlotte held it with both hands like it was the most important object in the world. "That is not food," Lily said. Charlotte looked at her with the expression of a baby who had considered the information and rejected it. She put the leaf back in her mouth. The house was not a mansion. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen with a window over the sink that looked out at a garden where James Carter knelt every morning, pulling weeds and talking to tomato plants like they were old friends. The porch had 2 rocking chairs. The mailbox had a name on it now, Carter. Lily had taken back her name the same week she signed the divorce papers. The lawyers had fought over money for months, but Lily did not want the money. She wanted the name, her name, the one her father gave her before the world took him away and gave her back a ghost. Rachel drove down from Kentucky every other weekend. She would arrive on Friday night with a bag of groceries and a bottle of wine and an opinion about whatever Lily was doing wrong with the baby, which was always delivered with the particular authority of a pediatric nurse who had no children of her own. "You are holding her like a football," Rachel would say. "She likes it," Lily would reply. "She cannot tell you what she likes. She is 7 months old. She told me with her eyes, 'You are impossible.'" These were the conversations that saved Lily, not the dramatic ones, not the testimony, or the verdicts, or the press conferences. The small ones, the Tuesday morning ones, the arguments about leaf eating and baby holding and whether sweet potato or butternut squash was the correct first food. Here is something Lily learned in the year after she left the mansion. Healing does not look like the movies. There is no montage, no moment where the music swells and everything is suddenly fine. Healing looks like waking up at 3 in the morning because the baby is crying and realizing that the sound does not make you afraid. It looks like leaving the front door unlocked and not checking it 5 times. It looks like laughing at something small and noticing, halfway through the laugh, that your body did not tense first. It looks like a Tuesday, and then another Tuesday, and then enough Tuesdays that the old life starts to feel like a story that happened to someone else. James Carter was in the garden. He came every morning at 7. Some days they talked, some days they sat in silence. Some days Lily was angry, and she told him so, and he listened without defending himself, because he understood that a 15-year absence cannot be explained away, only endured. "I am not ready to forgive you," Lily told him once, standing in the kitchen with Charlotte on her hip. "I know," James said, "but I am glad you are here." "I know that too." It was not a reconciliation. It was a construction project, slow, careful, built one honest conversation at a time, with the understanding that some foundations take years to set properly. Carter House opened in the spring. Lily and Rachel built it together, a nonprofit that helped women leaving abusive marriages, legal resources, housing assistance, job placement, counseling, a phone line staffed by volunteers who answered on the first ring because Lily knew what it felt like to call for help and hear nothing. They named it Carter because the name meant something now, not the man who disappeared, the woman who came back. The calls started slowly, 1 a week, then 3, then 10. Women from small towns and big cities, women with money, and women without. Women who whispered because they were calling from bathrooms while their husbands slept in the next room. Every call was different. Every story had the same architecture. Love that became control. Control that became violence. Violence that became silence. And then one day, one moment, one breath that said, "I cannot do this anymore." Lily answered as many calls as she could. Rachel handled the logistics. James built shelves and fixed faucets at the transitional housing unit because he was good with his hands and needed to be useful in a way that did not require words. Dale Haskins sent a card when Charlotte was born. Inside, in handwriting that shook, "She deserves better than what I stayed silent for. I am sorry." Lily put the card in a drawer. She did not write back. She was not ready, but she did not throw it away. Victoria Blackwood sold the estate. The mansion where Lily had bled, on marble floors, was purchased by a tech company and converted into office space. Victoria donated most of the proceeds to domestic violence organizations, including Carter House. She made no public statement. She moved to a small apartment and disappeared from the social world she had spent 40 years performing for. Sometimes Lily thought about Victoria sitting alone in that apartment and felt something complicated, not sympathy, not forgiveness, something in between that did not have a name. Megan Hale served 8 months in a minimum security facility for fraud and obstruction. After her release, she vanished from public life entirely. No social media, no interviews, no cream blazers and carefully staged press conferences. Just silence. Lily did not think about her often. When she did, it was with the detached curiosity of a woman looking at a scar that no longer hurts. Dr. Nora Sinclair reopened her medical practice. Her first patient in the new office was a young woman with bruises on her forearms who said she fell down the stairs. Dr. Sinclair handed her a card for Carter House and said, "Whenever you are ready, there is no rush." The young woman took the card. On a Tuesday evening in October, exactly 1 year after the trial, Lily put Charlotte down for a nap. The baby fought it the way she fought everything, with tremendous energy and zero strategy, grabbing at Lily's hair and babbling protests until her eyes grew heavy, and her grip softened, and she slipped into sleep the way only babies can, completely and without fear. Lily stood in the doorway and watched her daughter breathe, fingers curled, chest rising and falling, the world outside the window going orange with autumn. She thought about the marble floor, the chandelier light, the sound of a slap in an empty hallway. She thought about the motorcade, the heartbeat monitor, the moment she said, "I did not fall," and felt the words change the shape of her life. She thought about the woman she had been, the waitress who smiled because she could not afford not to, the wife who stayed because she had forgotten she could leave, the mother who bled on a billionaire's floor and decided, in that exact moment of breaking, that she would not break anymore. Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. Lily's heart seized for 1 second. Old reflex. The instinct that lived in her nervous system like a scar. The one that heard a phone buzz and thought, him. She picked it up. Unknown number. Her thumb hovered. She opened the message. "Hi, my name is Emily. I found on Carter House online. My husband controls everything. I do not have anyone. I do not know what to do. Can you help me?" Lily sat down at the kitchen table. Through the window, James was in the garden, tying tomato vines to stake. Rachel's car was pulling into the driveway for the weekend visit, early as always. Charlotte slept in the next room, breathing steady, completely unaware of the war that had been fought for her existence. Lily typed her reply. "Yes, I can help. And here's the first thing I want you to know. You are not crazy. You are not alone. And the life you are living right now is not the life you have to keep." She hit send. The baby monitor on the counter picked up Charlotte's breathing, steady, stubborn, alive, just like her mother. And outside the window, the last light of October settled over the garden, and the house, and the mailbox that read, Carter, and the woman inside, who had once been nothing and had become, through pain and truth and the stubborn refusal to stay silent, exactly who she was always supposed to be. This content was independently researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful storytelling with purpose. Every word was carefully crafted to entertain, inspire, and remind you that no one deserves to suffer in silence. Thank you for listening.